The two big things you got to understand about the fillet tool in 3D mode is there is how you select something, and that can be as precise as one specific line all the way to like selecting all the lines and all the faces. And the other part is the exact radius you're applying, whether it's asymmetric, whether it's constant. Let's just jump into it. One way to select everything is to start at the upper left and drag to the lower right. And that can select everything that your cursor passes over. So in this case, this is something that 3D printer guys like to do, is you can now add a wholesale fillet to all the faces, and that'll reduce the stress risers they're always worried about. So I selected the rolling ball. There's another version called setback, but we're going to do the rolling ball, and we're going to hit OK and see what that looks like. And this one, of course, was a very, very mild fillet here. One thing that is very useful in this is to jump into something called sectional analysis. And we're going to pick a plane to cut with. So we're going to pick this one. And this is what we can use to figure out what it's going to look like on the inside. That happens to get stored right here above my head. We can turn that on and off as we see fit. So I reactivated a shell command. I had suppressed this feature in research of this here. And the shell command made, this happens to be a drill bit tray. So I was shelling out extra material. So let me turn off, you can see it's right behind my head here. But let me turn off our sectional analysis. I'm going to grab all the edges and I'm going to do a fillet. Now there's one thing called the rule fillet. And the cool thing is this lets us turn on and off different features. Oh, it dumped me out. So let's see if I can select all the faces and features here. And I'm going to jump to this here. So I can do the rounds, which is the sharp exterior edge, or I can pick all the fillets, so the internal change between two walls. So I can do the rounds only, and it didn't like that size, but I'm going to point 0.07 inches, and look at this. It has now allowed me to round over all those. And let me move my head here, and let's look at the sectional analysis here. So we can see we have sharp corners down at the bottom, and we have rounded tops. And let me just show you, I'm going to suppress this feature real quick, and you can see it working its magic. So everything is square, and then unsuppress. Now we've rounded these edges. With our fillets here, we have something called a tangency factor, and it's just how much it actually flows. So we can take this higher, and it should start bulging out. And we can also make it approximate as close to a chamfer as possible. So we have all sorts of options here to create interesting solutions that we're interested in here to really get the most out of this software. So looking at the asymmetric feature here, we can click these three edges, and do you see how it gives me a second arrow this time? So I can change different radiuses, different options. Another unique feature they have is variable. So with variable, we can add extra points. So we can make changes at various locations. That, you know, one of the ones, if we want to really make a crazy setup, I mean, look at this. We have this one going to nothing, and it gets bigger and bigger till it gets this point. We didn't describe this one as coming in, so we can really make crazy new options that would be basically impossible unless you were holding clay in your hands. I made a separate video on the sketch mode only version of the fillet tool. It adds constraints lightning fast and it makes your models come together provided that they're mostly in 2D. Check out this link here. It can be really smart to add a fillet as a way to strengthen up a part, just to give you a little bit more meat where you want it. I don't want to get too deep in the weeds right now. But another, not to get not to get too deep in the weeds just now, but another option here is we can add a rib. There's something called ribs and webs. Oops. They look like this. And real quick, let me show you how to make one. We can piggyback off of this, but I'm going to show you from the beginning here. We're going to just create a plane, an offset plane like this. Hit OK. We're going to do a quick sketch on the new plane we just made. And it's a little bit of a magical tool because you just describe very briefly the shape of the rib, and Fusion calculates it to where it hits the walls, and then it'll add a rib in its place. So we come over here and we grab this and we describe how fat it is and hit OK. Just super high overview. Click this link here to see my full video on that. In some cases, this can be hard to set up a fully round condition. Sometimes it's going to really fight you the whole way. So we can set up a different solution here. So I'm going to hit F for fillet, and we're going to grab this face here, and we're going to jump down to the full round fillet. Oops. We're going to select this face. Now it solved it, just not the way I was hoping for. And I wish this was a little bit better, but I'm going to hold Command. I'm going to select the side. I'm going to hold Command, and then I'm going to flip it around, and I'm going to select side 2, and that'll give me the full round like I was hoping for. The problem is that the software doesn't tell you to hold Command to select that first side, and then you also have to remember to select this box before doing side 2. Don't forget, we can also do splines. In this case, I have the variable, but we can switch that to constant. Now with the fillet command, when we're selecting edges and faces, I want you to see this feature here, which is I have the tangent chain selected. So if you look at this, I am picking this arc here, which is tangent to this line, which is tangent to this arc, which is tangent here. This arc and tangent line do not get included in that. Fusion is considering those to be two separate circumstances. So I can click those together, and then I can turn this into, say, a fillet of some type. Now let me delete that. Now let me start a new one here. Let me show you what happens if I unselect the tangent chain option. Look at that. I can select each individual piece of these lines. But I'm going to select them all, and then I will add a simple radius to it. I set up a fillet command here where I did rounds on all the corners, fillets and rounds on both sides. Here's a quick sectional view. One thing I can do is I can delete it down here, or if I have a bunch, I can go to Modify, Simplify, Remove Features, and this will give me chamfers, holes, extrudes, all of it. But what I can do is I can go to the fillet and select bodies here, it's going to show me everything that I was just describing it to it and hit delete. And we can kind of reset our model to a simpler version. If you're having trouble extruding something in Fusion 360, click this link for this troubleshooting guide.